Today, we're going to be talking about, and I know it's been a while since it released, the achievement list for Texas Chainsaw Massacre that released for Xbox, and I'm sure it's probably going to be the same on, or similar for PC and PlayStation. The achievement list for Texas Chainsaw Massacre game, it is a massive one. It is not final. I'm sure the numberage on this is probably going to change. The descripts and the names probably will stay mostly the same. But let's dig into this. I'm not going to dig through all 50 achievements. We're just going to dig through the ones that are not as self-explanatory and deserve conversation for the most part. So starting at the first one, the very first one is called Purge. Using the Pain is Nothing ability, purge X number of poison effects. So you can get poisoned in the game. I'm assuming this is going to be the victims getting poisoned, because there is another perk called Don't Touch, which is called Poison X number of victim pickups, tools, shards, health items. So this is kind of neat. What kind of poison is this? Where they can pick up a tool, I don't know what a shard is, and a health item can all be poisoned. So it's not something that they're sticking up their nose or in their mouth. It's either something that they're breathing in. I think it's probably like maybe a gas or something, where if they touch it, it gets released into the air and they maybe breathe it in and get poisoned that way. Or maybe it's just a contact poison. I don't know. And then, of course, how does the poison work? Does it take your health away slowly? Does it give you a stat impairment? Does it make you run slower? Does it cause you to take an injured state after a while if you don't cleanse it? Good questions to bring up. And then this next one brings up good conversation called Perking Up. Start a match with a fully leveled up ability and 3 level 3 perks equipped. Now this is very similar to Dead by Daylight when you look at it just straight up front. Now, one thing to question is this going on for both the killers and the victims? Or is it just for one side? I imagine that both sides are getting perks and abilities. Now, this is really cool, too, because your players are getting abilities. Very, very Evil Dead, if you think about it. Players are getting their special ability, and then on top of that, they can have their 3 perks, which is very similar to DBD. What are the perks? What are the abilities? We don't know. He was the greatest ever, speaking towards Grandpa and how they commented in multiple films that Grandpa was the greatest killer of all time. The achievement says to feed Grandpa X number amount of times in total. So this is a big one. What does feeding Grandpa do? I'm assuming it's the killers, the family feeding Grandpa, because the victims, why would they feed Grandpa? You know, so the family, what are they feeding Grandpa for? What does this do? And seeing as how Grandpa's in a rocking chair in the trailer, that means he's not really going to be moving around too much. Now, if he was in a wheelchair, he'd be moving around. And the only thing I could think of with Grandpa is him being in a wheelchair and then like he's rolling around like an AI, kind of just patrolling an area. And then maybe he gets tired and stops. And you got to feed him to keep him patrolling. That's the only thing I could really think of. Like but he's in a rocking chair. So I don't know, like what's going on with Grandpa? Why do you got to feed him the grits? It could be a thing where Grandpa is awake and he can alert the family as to if a survivor is nearby. And maybe if you don't feed him, he falls asleep. You know, he starts snoring. So if the victims can hear Grandpa snoring from another room, then they know that they're fine. They can patrol the top floor or wherever he is. You know, maybe he appears in random places. And it's okay to move around. But if you feed Grandpa, he's awake and not making any snoring noises. And then now he's a more effective, alarm for when the victims are within proximity, visual proximity of him. That's the only thing I could think of. As a victim, escape a level without making any noise. So this means, there's going to be various things throughout the maps that make noise that alert a family member to your whereabouts. Now, here's a good question. Is this all going to be very subtle and HUD-less? And you just have to use your real ears as a player to hear things to know where a survivor is at? Or is it going to be like DBD, where a HUD effect happens, or a sound effect happens. In DBD, it's a boom, and you see the warbly kind of effect where a generator has been exploded. Or when somebody jumps a vault, you see the boom and where it happened. And basically, your HUD gives you the visual information you need to go find somebody. I personally think, now in DBD, it has to work like that, or you'd never find anybody. Now, in Texas Chainsaw, I would preferably like it to be where the killers, the players, are using their own ears, and everything is as grounded and HUDless as possible, because that's more immersive, in my opinion. Where, if any of you have ever played Hunt Showdown has been one of the only games that has fed suspense in me at a really high level, and it's not really the type of game I usually play, right? Hunt Showdown is an FPS shooter, but the way it's set up, it feeds suspense, it feeds anxiety, because all the sounds that you hear are grounded, and you have to hear them like if you were hearing stuff in real life. When birds fly up into the air, you hear it from a quarter mile away. When somebody makes a horse scream or whine when they get near it because it's injured, you hear that from a few yards away. And it creates anxiety, because now you're moving slower as a hunter, and your ears, you're waiting. You're wanting to hear these sounds. So you're not moving very fast, because the faster you move, the louder your feet are, and you're running. So it's like you're not going to be as accurate on listening for audio cues as you would if you were knelt down, being very cautious and listening out for all that stuff. So this will be very interesting to see how Texas Chainsaw handles audio and noise, because I think that this right here is a very important part of the game, along with the music, the sound effects, making noise, getting the killer to hunt for you, and everything being kind of grounded, and the game not spoon feeding you. A big thing with Friday the 13th and some other games is just these games spoon feed too much, right? You got to leave some things, or a lot of things, up to the player to handle on their self through their own eyes and ears. So, and then that will push a little bit more anxiety and suspense, knowing that everything is grounded to the player and everything that's actually happening in the environment, and it just makes it all more immersive, honestly. Okay, the next one is Bring It On. Win X number of close encounters as a victim in total. What is a close encounter? Now, the close encounter is going to be some kind of moment, some kind of crucial interaction between the victim and the killer when they've met. It's either when the killer has caught up with the victim, or they just turn corners and come face to face. Close encounters. What is it? Is it going to be a pocket knife situation where the victim has so much time to do a thing and hit the killer and then run off again because there's not really going to be a fight? Is it going to be a moment where you can dodge the killer and then get away and then break line of sight? Is it going to be a mini game that you have to do, and whoever's quickest will pull it off? Or like a set of mini games just kind of driven together, and then the victim has a chance to break line of sight? Close encounter. It just sounds like a moment that's going to happen, and then if the victim is good enough to get out of it, they will be able to attempt to break line of sight and hopefully get away. Now, how is this going to work when there's multiple killers around? Like, let's say all three killers are on top of one person. I don't think a close encounter is going to help in that moment, right? You're going to have your close encounter and get away and then get immediately killed by another killer. I'm very interested to see how all this is going to work in the meta. The next one feeds a little bit more into it. It's called Get Back Here. Win exit close encounters as family members in total. So I'm thinking this is going to be some kind of little mini game that you do with victims versus family members to get out of a situation or to win a situation and overcome the victim. I can't wait to see what the idea is behind this. And then the next one, Fighting Back. Successfully perform sneak attacks against family members in total. So you have two things. You have the close encounter, that moment, and then you have sneak attacks, which I assume is the survivors coming up, like actually getting the jump on the family members, aka the killers, and doing a sneak attack on them. So, okay, so thinking about that raises more questions. How dangerous is it to do a sneak attack on a family member? How long are they going to stay stunned? I'm assuming they're getting stunned in that moment. How long are they going to get stunned? And is it easy to break line of sight? Because now you've approached a family member. They know you're there because you've just attacked them. Is that dangerous? Like, maybe it's good to just stay out of sight. Is it productive to sneak up on a killer and attack them, or to just stay away, stay out of it, and just leave, right? Which one is the more productive action? And then there's another one called Now It's My Turn. Sneak attack all family members in a single match. That's got to be really ballsy. Like, that's going to take a lot of effort, I'd imagine. Like, getting up behind all three killers, sneak attacking them, and then getting away. I would imagine that by that point, you'd have to be a really good survivor victim, and you'd have to be playing up against brand new killers that don't know what they're doing, right? And then you could sneak up behind all three of them, do a thing, and then get away again. I imagine against a group of good killers that this is probably not the best choice. Very dangerous, considering it's three different killers you're having to go sneak attack, because with each one that you attack, you're letting them know where you are, that you're in that area, vicinity of them. They're going to come looking for you right after. Now, I may not know how a sneak attack actually works. It could be something that you do to save another victim in a dire situation. So we just don't know. We'll have to see as well. Now, be like Sally. Escape down the driveway after jumping out of the family house front window. And they've shown this in the trailer. Looks very accurate. I love it. So this goes to say that I think when you escape, it's going to be kind of like Friday the 13th, where you cross that. It's like crossing the finish line. You're going to cross a threshold, and it's going to be over. That's it. So, kind of like Friday the 13th, if you're running from Jason and you cross, it's like getting away with the police, you know? I don't know, maybe there's more to it, but it looks like from this script and what they've shown in the footage, that once you, like in the trailer, once you cross past into that road, you're done. Like, that's it. You can no longer be caught at that point. How will it show them getting away in that moment? I don't know. Like, do they just go running down the road? Is there a truck that comes and picks somebody up? What about the other people that are still escaping, you know? Question is not everybody's escaping at the same time. So I assume that, we'll have to assume that it just ends right as you cross that finish line threshold. Fully focused. This is somebody's ability. It says use the focus ability to instantly unlock doors in total. X number of doors in total. So somebody has a focus ability. I don't know if everybody has that. Sounds like maybe one victim might have that, and they will be the ones that can unlock doors that the cook has been placing. Safe and secure. Add extra locks to X number of doors in total. So this is kind of something I thought when I watched the reveal trailer, is that the cook is going to have, 3 or 4 locks maybe, and he's going to be going around and he'll be able to lock 3 or 4 doors at once, but not be able to just go around and lock up the entire house. That would be too much, right? So it's going to be a thing where you have to be smart with the cook, and you have to kind of guesstimate based upon where the other killers are or where a chase is happening at, and know to lock a certain door at a certain time. For example, let's go through a gameplay scenario that I just make up in my head. Let's say that, Leatherface is running somebody through the tunnels, and they're about to escape. They found a door. Cook's near the door. Players on the microphone being like, hey, Cook, are you near this door? I need you to lock it because I'm right on their ass. So killer goes over to the correct door, locks it. And then now the victim that's running is stuck. They're not going to be able to get away from Leatherface as fast. or they're going to have to alter their route. Could be some fun moments. Hopefully the locking of the doors doesn't become a cheap thing. We'll have to see how it's used when the game comes out. This next one's called I Hear You. Very simple. Successfully spot X amount of victims in total. So I'm assuming that either Hitchhiker or Cook, maybe even Leatherface, has the ability to spot a survivor to let the other killers know, hey, I'm over here. I found somebody. Now, this is good for people that won't be on microphone, so they can be like, hey, I found somebody, they're over here. Because obviously people on microphone, that's just going to be something that happens, right? You find somebody behind the gas station up in the woods, and, you have to be able to tell the others. So that's going to be a thing where when you get spotted, you better get the fuck out of there, because now all the other killers are coming. They're all three going to come down on you hardcore unless they're dealing with the others. Now, see, that's going to be the fun back and forth too, because if both of the killers converge on, say, the cook who found somebody behind the gas station up in the woods, if all three killers converge on that one victim, well, there's three other victims that now have breathing room, right? So now those three are going to be able to get some shit done. So you better hope that those three killers now can at least, catch that one person that they found. Because if that person gets away, well, you've wasted time, because now the other three have been doing stuff. The next one is called I Got One. Catch a total of X number of victims in traps. So one of them, either the cook or the hitchhiker, will be laying down traps for the victims. I don't know what kind of traps there are. I did see a bear trap in the original reveal trailer sitting on a table. Don't know what kind of traps they're going to be. I'm sure there's various kinds. I can't wait to see how they're going to be used, and whether the family members can get caught in their own traps. Okay, and then you got a next one called I'm Coming For Ya. As hitchhiker, use one sidle. Now, sidling is like when you're moving stealthily or sneaky, like sideways movement through a hallway, kind of stealthy approach. Very cautious, very sneaky. So I don't know what that is in this case, because it's very specific. As a hitchhiker, use one sidle. What is it? How do you use it? Is it a movement? Is it an action, an ability to sneak around? So this is a good question. A bolt hole is basically a hiding spot or a place to kind of put yourself away, and I guess you would use it to create an ambush. But yeah, bolt hole, aka it's a hiding place. It's a place you hide, and I'm assuming that would be for an ambush. So the hitchhiker has areas where he can ambush people, so that's kind of cool. That'd be cool for a jump scare, or catching a person off guard, or sneaking up behind them. So you can hide somewhere, wait for a victim to pass, come out, and then sneak up to them, which could be the whole sidle thing, I don't know. So bolt hole and ladder is kind of like, if you put those two words together, it's essentially you going underground. Essentially, the bolt hole is the hiding place, or an underground burrow or whatever. So it's like an underground tunnel. And then you put ladder in with it. So this is probably referring to the hitchhiker using a secret entrance to get into the tunnels, essentially. The bolt hole and ladder. And I can only guess that maybe sidling might be him going through narrow hallways, or like if you see in the trailer, he turns sideways to get through a narrow space. And so far, that's the only thing I can amount these up to. Can't hide from me. Analyze X number of victim footprints in total, so you can follow footprints in the game. The question is when do footprints happen? They can't happen everywhere, right? So I do remember way back in the day, you guys, way back Friday the 13th, it's been back 2016, 2017. I do remember Wes talking about so many things, right? They were going over so many things. And one of the things that I remember Wes talking about was the footprints, being able to, it's things that they wanted to do in Friday the 13th that they didn't necessarily get to do because it just didn't work for the game. But now it's cool to see that he's returning to those ideas to have them put into Texas Chainsaw Massacre. And one of those was footprints, especially for like if it was raining or they're walking through the dirt or the mud, your footprints would appear. So this kind of keeps the victims very aware of where they're going, not just where they're hiding or what they're doing, but also where they're walking. Am I walking in the dirt? Am I walking in a place where they'll be able to see footprints of where I'm at? So it kind of makes you cautious in a way, because now the killers are going to be able to look down, or one of them, or whoever does it, see your footprints and track you down temporarily. Here's one that brings up a lot of questions. Use the ultimate escape ability to reduce damage X number of times. Undetectable. How does that work? And how does it reduce damage? I can't even think in my head how this one would work. Because A, it's talking about it reduces damage. B, it's called undetectable. So if you're undetectable, I'd assume you could be immune to certain things like footprints and other various things we just don't know about yet. But how does the reduced damage come into play? Dog will hunt. As Leatherface, destroy X objects with your chainsaw, blocker, bolt hole, door. What is a blocker? Is this like dressers being pulled down in front of a door? Is a blocker like horror movie stuff where the victims actually get to, use things to block out a door to give themselves some time to escape a certain situation? Bolt hole, still not sure. I can only guess that again that the bolt hole is an entrance to an underground area. Hung up on you. Execute X number of victims in total on the gallows as Leatherface. Now, I'm assuming that the gallows in this case is Leatherface hooking someone up on a hook. So that's kind of cool if, maybe he doesn't have his chainsaw yet, or it's just conveniently nearby. But this raises up a good question, like speaking of the chainsaw, can Leatherface put down and pick up his chainsaw? Right? Because if he's going to hang someone up on a gallows or a hook, then he's going to have to not have his chainsaw in his hands. So will there be moments where Leatherface, it could be one of those things where you go to hang him up and his chainsaw just disappears. It's a video game. So there might be situations where the chainsaw just disappears and he grabs somebody. Now, I know that in the clip here, we see it. He picks somebody up out of a hiding space with one arm, and he still has his chainsaw in the other hand. So, but when he goes to put somebody up on a hook, I'd imagine he'd need to use both hands. So is there going to be moments where you could just lay down your chainsaw somewhere and do stuff without it? Whereas the chainsaw is the most powerful weapon to use against victims. What is Leatherface going to be able to do without it in his hands? Maybe if he has it in his hands, he's very powerful and dangerous. But if he doesn't have it in his hands, Leatherface is actually opened up to doing a few more things, other things without it. This is again a theory, but it could be really cool to see that with chainsaw, Leatherface can do 1, 2, 3. Without the chainsaw in his hands, Leatherface is able to do 1, 2, 3, 4. Different things than he would be able to do with his chainsaw. So we'll just have to see how that works. So our hero, shoulder barge and stun X number of family members. I'm kind of glad this achievement list came out, you guys, because now we can stop hearing all the whiners saying, oh, I don't want to buy Texas Chainsaw Massacre because you can't fight the killers and you can't protect yourself against the killers. Well, I guess it's safe to say now this is the third thing we've read on this achievement list where you can do stuff against the family members. So all you guys that are whining and crying over, oh, I can't protect myself against the killers, now you can finally shut up. And I knew that this was going to be a thing way back when they announced this game, because they said, no, you won't be able to fight the killer straight up, but there are ways to defend yourself. And it seems like ever since then, people have just erased the whole fact that Matt said that you'll be able to defend yourself, and people just didn't pay attention to that part, and they only had paid attention to the first part of what he said, and then took that and ran with it. But I'm glad now that this achievement list is out there so people can be the hell quiet, because now there is a shoulder barge and stun X number of family members, plus you can sneak attack them, plus there's a close encounter thing. We don't know what the hell that is. Shoulder barging and stunning. Probably very risky, probably things that you do only in very, like, you have to do it situations. Like, you're not going to run up to Leatherface and shoulder barge him for laughs and memes. You know, maybe once you're really good at the game, you can just do that and get away with it. But we'll have to see. You know, it's going to be one of those things I'm sure they're testing for right now. You know, what happens if the victims do decide to go in and meme and make fun of the killers as best they can? Can they do it? You know, can a group of victims get in a match and be like, hey, let's all run up to the killers and shoulder barge them and then run away and see if we can get away? How many times can we do it? You know, things like that I'm sure they test for. Powder burns. This is interesting. Confuse 2 or more victims simultaneously. So what is this? Is it like a thing where you set a trap and it throws powder up into the air? And what is confusion? What is that stat effect? Does it make the screen blurry? Does it make your controls all funky? Does it make you run slower? How does this confusion work for the player to actually mess with the game in a way that is effective? You know, so it's going to have to be actually something that affects the player in a way that makes sense, to where they're actually kind of moving around in like a what the fuck just happened kind of a moment. All-knowing. Track all family members in a single match. What is this? Is this like a victims pinging the killer's locations all at the same time? Like, this victim over here just saw the cook. This victim over here just saw the hitchhiker. And these two, or one of them, just saw Leatherface. And now we can see all 3 killers where they're at the same time on the map, because victims have set themselves up in such a good way that we were able to catch them all together. So now we're tracking them. And so it becomes a thing where now the victims know where the killers are. They got to do their thing from there. So the same way that the family members will be able to ping out the victims will be able to ping out the killers. This one's interesting. You spelt champion wrong. As a family member, kill a victim in under 30 seconds from the start of a match. So you can die pretty quickly. So I'm assuming you're going to have to do something critically bad in order to die in under 30 seconds from the beginning of the match. You'd have to run right into a killer. Like, maybe you're not paying attention. You just took a really bad turn. Like in Friday the 13th, I mean, it's possible to kill somebody in under 30 seconds, but you'd have to like teleport right on top of them accidentally and then grab them and kill them instantly. So, I mean, it can happen, but it's very rare. Okay, a good one to bring up, leaving home. Escape using each exit on the family house, and then there's one for the gas station, and there's one for the slaughterhouse. So each map is going to have more than one exit for the victims. Let's look back at these pictures. Obviously, one of them is down the driveway. The slaughterhouse's one is probably down the road here. And then the out of gas one on the gas station is probably getting out and running down the road. But where are the other ones at? Where do you think that they would be? I doubt that they would be in the tunnel, because the tunnels are the killer's domain. How are you going to escape in a tunnel? Where are you going to go? They lead to nowhere, right? It's just, they don't have a tunnel that leads into the city. It's just going to be their own little domain there underneath that place. So I'm assuming that all the exits are going to be above ground out of the tunnels, but where? Okay, the saw is family. Reach family bond to maximum and keep it there for the whole match. What is family bond? Does family bond make the family members killers stronger? Does it make them more effective in some way? We'll have to wait and see what happens with that one. Fixer. During a single match, stop the generator, fix the fuse box, and open the pressure valve. So there is fuse boxes and generators, at least on certain map, I guess. But I'm assuming that might be, and if they're on all 3 maps, then it's definitely a tunnel thing. That this is something you're doing down in the tunnels, probably to get out. So if I had to guess, the generator, the fuse box, and the pressure valve are all 3 down in the tunnels. You're going to have to turn on the generator. It's cool that they're poking just a little bit of fun at DBD. Little bit of fun at DBD. Taking something that they've had and putting it in their own game for one section of their game is kind of interesting. So the generator, you got to get it on, fix the fuse box, then use the pressure valve to, I'm assuming, open the door and get the hell out of there. And then the next scenario of the game starts where you're up on top level. You're on the surface now. It's kind of like, the tunnels are level 1, the surface above ground is level 2, and then you have to escape. The next one, Nowhere Left to Hide. These are showcasing all the hiding places in the game. A freezer, a locker, a wardrobe, a trunk, and a car trunk. So this actually could be very fun. I hope that in this game, the hiding places are a little bit more effective in use surrounding the gameplay, because in Friday the 13th, hiding in places was very messy gameplay-wise. It made no sense to hide for the most part in Friday the 13th. And the reasons for this is because in Friday the 13th, no matter what you're doing in a hiding place, it was hard to really avoid Jason, because once he walks near your hiding place, the breathing lasts only so long, and he's not just going to walk in and leave immediately. He's still going to be around the area searching. So eventually he's going to hear that exhale that happens. Or if he gets too close and you don't start the breathing in time, because there's no warning or where the threshold is where your person's going to scream out when he gets too close, you'd have to hold down the button. And if you didn't do that, your person screams out and just goes, "Ah!" or some stupid thing, or "I hope he doesn't see me." They say that. And then it's like, well, there you go. Now it's over. Or you have to jump out of the hiding place and run immediately. So I hope that they get that all squared away with this game, because it was really messy in Friday the 13th. I want to see hiding places become a fun feature to use in Texas Chainsaw Massacre, and not something that just feels like a gameplay element that's not been fully fleshed out and doesn't work as well as it should. I'm hoping that it does, because in DBD, all you have is lockers. So now in this, mixing it up a little bit more, you have freezers, lockers, wardrobes, trunks, and car trunks. And as long as they're done right, this could be a really fun feature using hiding places. I hope that's done well this time. Doing well. Jump down a well X number of times. Does jumping down a well just put you into the tunnels immediately? Like it's a quick way into the tunnels, I'm assuming? That's why it says jump down the well. So it's probably a one-way street. When you jump down the well, you're in the tunnels, but you can't get back out again. You're going to have to take a different route after jumping down. Jumping down the well might be one of those things where it's like, okay, I'm above ground. You were in the tunnels, now you're above ground, but hey, you got seen above ground. You're in a dangerous situation. You really need to escape. You're going to take a little bit of a backtrack and jump down the well to get away. You got away, but now you're back in the tunnels again. Right? So you managed to stay alive, but now you've kind of backtracked down to the tunnels, but you had to do it because you were being chased at the moment. It was the only thing you had to do to get away. So now you got to get yourself back out of the tunnels, back above ground, and try again. So that could be a thing, jumping down the well. Respec a character's unlock tree after reaching maximum level. Now, respecking means to take all your stuff and change it around, changing around your tree and making it different. Now, it's cool that there is a character, that there's an unlock progression tree for the characters. This is probably your perks, whatever else is involved with the game. But it also could be prestiging. Like, it could be you prestiging your character. But then you'd have to, start from the beginning, unless they have their prestiges set up in a different way. We'll have to wait and see on that. And then you have the one called Tread Softly. Avoid being detected by Grandpa for a whole match. Now, is Grandpa going to be appearing only on the family map? Or is he going to be appearing anywhere? Is he like a standard addition to every match? Now, is Grandpa only a family house feature on that map? Or is he going to be on every map feeding into the standard gameplay meta? And he's just around. He's part of it, right? There's 3 killers and Grandpa. I don't know. This is going to be a thing to see when we get into the actual game. But it could mean, maybe Grandpa's placed, if he is on every map, He could be in the gas station. It's going to be random. Like, you don't know where Grandpa is. Is he in the house? Is he outside behind a shed somewhere? Where in the hell is Grandpa? You know? And then the last one, what will be left of you? Play 1,973 public matches. Some folks made a huge stink over this, and I just have no idea why. I hate that some people, especially those that have like thousands and thousands and thousands of followers, and they have a status. You know, they're more known in the gaming industry. Like this guy named Patrick Maka made a big shit over it, and it's like, dude, it's an achievement. It takes time. You don't, and people are so used to these achievements and getting them in like 2 or 3 days or a week. And it's like, dude, the video game developers are going to set the achievements up the way they want them to be set up. We don't need people out here with huge followage whining about this kind of stuff. I know this is not the discussion you guys want to hear in this video, but it's like, okay, what do you guys think about it? I'm just going to ask you guys, what do you guys think of it? Would you want like maybe 1 or 2 achievements to be these for true fans of the game, you know? And have them be drawn out so you can earn it, but it's going to take some time. I don't mind achievements like that. I think it's fine. It shows that you're a true fan of the game, and I think some of those should be there in order to platinum a game. You shouldn't be able to platinum a game in a week. Like, that's just silly to me. So I personally do not mind that Gun and Sumo put the achievements like this, where you have to put in real hours, a real long time in order to get them done. It's an achievement. You know, you got to put some effort in. That's just what it is. It's no big deal. I don't see how people can make a big deal out of this kind of topic. I'm very excited for the suspense. I'm very excited for the roller coaster ride. You got Dead by Daylight trying to get their shit together right now because they know big things are happening in this industry, in this genre. The multiplayer horror asymmetrical genre is becoming bigger and bigger, and you really have to be competitive in this field, and it's a hard field to create for. So I commend Gun Media and all these developers out there. Saber, this is a very niche genre, and I'm glad that there are people still dedicated and driven to create for it. Because I like the fact that people are trying to build on this roller coaster ride. It's a new idea, you know, it's still growing. It's been 6 or 7 years since the inception of asymmetrical horror genre. And I'm excited that it's growing, man. This has been a long time coming. Stuff I've kind of been thinking about since high school. I know I'm going on a tangent. And yeah, just what are your thoughts? I will keep you guys updated. I will be coming out with more as they release. More information on the gameplay and deets on the game itself, Texas Chainsaw Massacre. I will see you guys later in the next video. Bye-bye once again.